In this video, I'm going to show you how to set up a discussion forum in Moodle 3. All right, so the first thing you do is you'll go to the place in your course where you want it to be. This is just my example course, so it's kind of disorganized. But, generally speaking, whatever organizational structure you've used in your Moodle site, you'll have a place where you want to put something like that. I'm just going to come down here. You go to add an activity or resource, and there are two different forums. There's the original forum, and then there's the proprietary forum that's part of our particular version of Moodle, which is actually called Blackboard OpenLearn. So this open forum actually has more features and I find more useful than the regular forum. So that's what I'm going to focus on right now. So I'm going to click on that and I'm going to say add. For a forum, you'll need to give it a name, obviously, whatever that needs to be to make it clear to the students what's going on. Here in the description area is where you might post any general instructions or descriptions for any particular forum. Next, you choose what type of forum. Now, like most settings inside of Moodle, if you want to kind of know more about what it means, you can click on the question mark, 5 types. So single discussion topic, which everyone replies to. You can have a scenario in which it limits each student to just one new post, and then they can reply to as many as they want. Q&As, they make a post, but they can only make a post until they have to, let me start over. They can't read what other students have done until they've made their own post. Standard forum displayed in a blog-like format. This is just a regular old forum. It's just rather than being nested with responses sort of right indented below original posts, everything is aligned to the left. It's just a slightly different view. Standard forum for general use, it's just an open forum. Anyone can start as many new posts as they'd like, reply to as many as they'd like. Most of the time, faculty use either the standard forum or the Q&A forum. They both work very similarly. It's just that this one has that limitation in which you can't read what other students have done until you've done your own work. So it just depends on how much the purpose of the forum is to have students putting forth some original thought versus more of a conversational style, which would be more like the standard form. So you choose which one you're going to use. In this case, I'm going to use standard forum. And then there's a ton of other setting options. Most of these you're just going to ignore. Post options. You can have a box for you as the instructor to mark whether or not you felt that the post was substantive or not. You can bookmark posts. Allowing private replies is nice if the purpose of the forum is to have students do things like reading reflections or other things like that, in which you may want to, particularly if it's something that's graded, you may want to have the ability to provide feedback that not all the other students see. And if so, private replies would be the way to do that. Displaying word count's nice if you've asked students to meet a certain number of words. Being able to see that makes it easier for them and makes it easier for you. Anonymous posting, I don't know really anybody who does that unless they've created a forum for the sole purpose of something like a survey question or some sort where you don't actually want to know what the students, who each student is. Attachments, whether or not they can attach, put some attachments in. By default, they'll always be able to put in attachments, and by default, it's set to the maximum attachment size and the maximum number of attachments per student per post, so that's a ton. Subscription. Do you want to get an email every time somebody posts to the discussion forum? Let me tell you, you don't. In fact, I often suggest to people that they change this to subscription disabled, because otherwise optional subscription has the subscription on and the student and you have to intentionally toggle that off in order to not receive emails every time somebody makes a post. So I'm going to go to subscription disabled. If you actually want to get an email every time a student makes a post, great, turn that on. Discussion locking, that's, do you some period of time after which students are no longer making posts, do you want to lock that discussion? This, I don't think it's really necessary. Post threshold for blocking. Do you want to have a time period in which you can block any posts that students make? I don't know anybody who really uses that either. If you would like this to be a column in the gradebook, you would do settings here. By default, it's not a column in the gradebook, but if you chose to make it one, you can either just have a box where you manually enter a grade, or you can set up some form of a rating scheme in which you put in 1 to 5 or something like that. Should you choose to do like manual, or you just have a box where you can put in, you'll need to indicate what you're grading out of, stuff like that. I'm going to change this back to none. All right, ratings, we just referred to that. Do you want people to be able to rate each other's posts? And if so, do you want to aggregate that together to turn it into something you use in a grade? And that here's how you could choose to do that. Do you want the mean? Do you want the total? Do you want the highest one they got? This, that kind of a thing. You can ignore common module settings, tags and competencies, restricting access. Probably the main purpose that would serve is if you don't want anyone to get into it until after a certain date, you can set a date restriction on that. There we go. So those are the settings related to doing a discussion forum. I'm just going to save and display. Once students start depending on the forum type, for the standard forum for general use, this is what it's going to look like. And there's an add a new discussion button. For the Q&A type, only you get the add a new discussion button, and then students can reply to that. And so this is where you would do something like, reading reflection, kind of a thing, and then students would respond back to that. On the other hand, if it's one like this where it's just a general discussion forum, maybe in the description up here you've given them instructions on what kind of things you want them to post on. So they're going to say, my thoughts on blah blah blah, and then they blah blah blah. You'll want to guide students to have useful subject headings here, because that's what you see as a reader before you click on an actual post. If you want students to make an attachment, they do that here. Otherwise, they just submit their post. Great, post is right here. You can see what I mean by this need to have a descriptive or useful subject heading here, because you don't actually see the post, you just see this. Students will click on those. They can reply to that. You as the editor have some other options here in which you can edit or delete things or move discussion forums around. Students can edit or delete their own posts, but they don't see those buttons for anybody else's, nor do they have the ability to move things around. Back here to the root of this discussion forum, like here, there's a couple of other tools for you to know about. Over here, when you're in a forum, over here you will now have forum administration. This gets you back into the original settings. This allows you to do some different types of gradings. This allows you to export that discussion forum, which can be nice. So maybe you want just the posts from a specific student, or maybe you want just all the posts related to one discussion thread that was going on, or maybe you want everything. And you want it in plain text, or just basically what it looks like on the screen. That would be the print. CSV puts it into a spreadsheet format. Plain text is just a bunch of plain text, and print is what it kind of looks like on the screen. I'm going to choose that one. If you used a discussion forum for students to attach a bunch of files, you can choose to export attachments. So I'm just going to go export. And then that allows me to print out this. This is kind of what it looks like when you go to print it out, which is kind of nice. This is a new feature within the discussion forums, and I think faculty are going to like it. So that is the long and the short on discussion forums in Moodle version 3.